Hi everybody, welcome. Hope you are gathered in a comfortable spot and ready to go. We have an extraordinary guest today and I'm so excited to get into our topic. So let's get underway right away, and I hope everyone's staying safe and ready to explore some amazing storytelling. So thank you again for joining, and as we dive into this idea of story, stories are everywhere, different shapes and sizes and all sorts of expressions. And when we work to choose a story, we have a lot to work from, lots of options to explore as creative storytellers. Some stories are big, very big, extra large, in fact, and perhaps a little cumbersome, epic in scale. And some stories are small, tiny even, but still valid. Size really doesn't matter. Short stories are their own unique place, serve their own unique role in this world. And so award-winning author Neil Gaiman has said that short stories are tiny windows into other worlds and other minds and dreams. They're journeys you can make to the far side of the universe and still be back in time for dinner. Short stories, and even sometimes shorter stories, can still hold the same impact. They can take and capture an entire universe of feeling and emotion in one instance, or in one tiny instance, you can find an entire world. So when we look at this idea of moments, taking moments, an indefinitely short period of time, a definite period or stage as in a course of events, but taking that slice, that moment, and capturing it through a lens of visual storytelling can be an infinite journey. It can be an endless journey. Capturing the magic and wonder of so many things around us that can seem fleeting, but yet are vital as in terms of how we relate to each other as in this human experience. And that's a big part of what story does for us. Capturing those moments, those epic moments, those tiny moments that have lasting impact. When we glimpse at these things, sometimes they're fleeting, a very brief passing look or a slight appearance, something that might appear faintly even, a suggestion. But yet there's impact in what we glimpse in each of these moments that we work to capture as visual storytellers. They can be the inverse of the world around us and reflect back to us what we're experiencing. And they can be a whole series of snapshots of moments that take us back to a time and a place. But either way, there's impact there. And for our gathering today, when we weave these all into stories that can transform us, that's another adventure. And our guest today has worked for a number of different entities throughout the industry, in the comic book world, in films, and as a visual storyteller. His work has been captured in a number of great books and series of graphic novels. He's worked in collaboration. Born in Barcelona, Jordi studied comic book art and fine arts before making his debut as an illustrator in 2001. Published in several Spanish magazines and tremendous series of collaborations with Tony Front and others, garnering a number of awards and making appearances at various events globally and internationally as a renowned author and illustrator. and a master at capturing moments of life that are well worth causing us to stop for a minute and grasp a glimpse of what life is before it rushes past us. So with that, I am thrilled to be able to introduce to you today Jordi Lafebre, a visual development artist and graphic novel author who is here to debut his latest graphic novel. Jordi, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning to you.
Thank you for letting us come into your world there in Barcelona.
Thank you for coming.
Magic and wonder of our technology today. And thanks for taking some time. I just in getting to explore your artistry, and when we prepared for this and just getting prepared, I was really struck at how your work really does indeed reflect these great, wonderful, magical moments. You have a way of uplifting what would seem like the everyday and turn it into magic, turn it into wonder. That's the big draw I got from combing through your amazing work, extensive work. You know, everybody's course in getting to where they are is always different. That's what's fascinating to me. How is it that you came to be the artist you are today? Were you, as a young child, immersed in this world? Did you know at a young age that this was right?
Memory. I have asked myself this question many times. Memory works in a special way, and we recall some specific things to tell ourselves who we are. But maybe science says we can't forget important moments of our life and reproduce another ones to tell ourselves who we are. So in a way, we are all storytellers to ourselves. That's nice. And I recall being at the floor. I was a very excited kid, moving all around all the time, very nervous, and still I am actually. But I recall the only moment I was really quiet, it was at the floor drawing. And I remember my grandpa telling to my mother, this kid never stops until he's drawing, and he's really talented. Maybe I was 3 or 4. When you are 3 or 4, you are not that talented. It's impossible. Nobody draws that way at that age. It's just, using the paper and fooling around and getting fun. That's important. But I recall getting fun at drawing and getting attention from my my family, and that was really important to me, as it is at any kid. And then maybe at 7 or at 8, I really started to draw little characters in a paper, tiny characters all around, little faces. And that remember, not all my colleagues, all my peers at class did that. I was the kid who drew. And I felt that special. I was still the emotional kid, still the kid who is talking all the time and moving around all the time. But I was the kid who draws well. And that label, to me, when you have a name for yourself, it's kind of nice, you stick to it. And I keep drawing because it was fun and it was something I was. And I keep drawing, and I didn't realize it was my thing until later on, let's say 16. At 16, I realized it was really my thing. I realized I wanted to be an artist or something like artists, because you don't know nothing of the world. And we are talking about, I'm 41 years old right now, so it's kind of mid-90s. It wasn't internet. My neighborhood was quite normal, not rich, not poor. And I wanted to be an artist. I had comic books all around. I had obviously animation at the TV. I wanted to be something, but I had nothing around me, next to me, to go and study. So it was, for my parents, was like, okay, you want to be an artist? Okay, go on. You've been drawing all your life, so keep on. They support me.
That's
That's the base. Getting support from your loved ones. It's the most important thing. I think it's more important than talent. It's more important than capacity of work. It's the support when you are young, when you discover who you are or who you want to be or became. And if they tell you that's going to be difficult, we think we have another idea for you, or that's impossible, or anything like that, it breaks you somehow. I've seen that when I was teaching. I had this conversation with my students. It happened all the time. My parents say no, they want me to be an artist, and I don't know what to do, because you don't want to disappoint your parents or whatever you have in your life. And that there's a gap between who you are and who you want to feel in that people you love. So, but it wasn't my case. My parents were completely okay with it. I feel right now, as a parent myself, I feel they have accepted I was an artist when I was 10 or something, because I was drawing all the time. So when I decided, say out loud, I want to be an artist, I want to study fine arts, they say, of course, obviously, go ahead. And it worked. And actually, I didn't get the art degree at the first trial. I did a trial, and I didn't get it. So, but that was important time, because important decision, because I didn't get the art. It was an art major course, and it's supposed to be the best one, but I didn't get that because I wasn't prepared enough, and I go there kind of in a field of improvisation, because I felt like being myself was okay, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
So I wasn't prepared to do that specific test. And when I saw I wasn't in, I directly go by myself to an art school of comic books. I knew, and it was good, and it was a tiny school at the time, but the ambience were good, the teachers were good, and it was what I wanted. And I go straight to my parents and I say, it's a private school, it's going to be a little expensive than the other one, and because university here in Spain is not at all like yours in the US. Here, let's say university is public, so it's not that expensive. Yeah. And that art school, it wasn't public, so it was a little bit expensive, and I put my money to it to get that art school. I was 18, and I get that art school, and there at 19 I discovered comic books, I discovered illustration. I had these amazing guys in my classroom. It was my mates, they were my friends. I discovered another world. In high school I was the guy who draw, but it was, I didn't understand the art world. I just the guy who draw, and I wanted to be an artist. But I became an artist or an art student. That
turned it.
Yeah, it completely changed my mind in 6 months, actually.
Wow.
And at 19, I was full confidence to get it, and since then, because I've never worked in anything else. I just been drawing an artist and put my things wherever I can, but I've never done anything else.
I found your world. How you have such a youthfulness about you and your artistry. What do you do to work to keep that, your youth and your experiences growing up in Barcelona? And
the experience, when I was at that, I was talking about that art school. and I get in at 18, but it was only 3 years. And at while this time in these years, I finally get to art degree. I get it. So I was studying the two things at the same time. My whole day was art everywhere. Many hours doing art all the time. And when I finished the school, the art degree was longer, was 5 years at that time. And I understood that if I wanted to be an artist, an actual artist, I wanted to start working, being professional. In maybe I'm not needed to being working 8 hours or the whole day, but to put my first steps into the industry. So I look for a job, being an artist, being 21. And actually, I had my very first job when a teacher from the school told me, "You're talented." Yeah, I did caricatures at that time. It was like funny for me. And a teacher saw it, and would you like to come with me and do caricatures for in a party? It's gonna be fun. We wanna pay you. And I said, like, of course. So I worked that night at night doing caricatures. And I started to work when I was 20, let's say 20. I don't recall exactly the age, but let's say 20 years old. And it was amazing being already professional so young. And when I stopped the school, I wanted to keep up working, but the caricature thing doesn't working anymore. So I looked for a job doing comic books. And in Barcelona wasn't that, there's no big industry. Again, internet was just the beginning of it. It was really difficult to get other publishers. There was no comic book industry at that time in Spain. It was actually dying. And we have only pornographic comic books. I swear it's the truth. So I recall picking my phone and calling to a pornographic comic book magazine and tell, "Hi, I'm Jordi. I want to be professional. Is it possible to pass by here and talk to the director of the magazine?" And he said, "Of course, it's me. You are talking to him." Okay. So I was there. I prepared my book with pornographic stuff, whatever it was at that time. And I get my first job as a pornographic artist at 20 years old. And obviously, it wasn't my goal as an artist. I wasn't telling myself this is my thing. I'm gonna keep here for my whole life. No, obviously no. It was obvious to me. It wasn't a step to improve me as an artist, to understand the industry, I recall trying everything I have in mind while doing porno. I learned how to do a proper script about dialogue. You can practice different stuff. Yeah. It was a job, and I take it the best of me. So I did that for maybe a year and a half or something, and the same people have different magazines, and they call me, "Jordi, you're talented, you're young, you are full of energy. Do we feel like the porno thing is not your stuff?" It wasn't actually. So we are starting a new magazine from humor, maybe for kids. We didn't know yet at the time. And do you want to come along and try a new thing? And obviously I was yes. But notice that at this point, maybe 23 years old, I've already done so different things. And I feel like it showed me that for me it's important to change and to keep improving and to go for another thing and never be blocked if you get fired or eventually lose your job. It's not a drama. It's okay. It's completely okay to lose. It's as okay to lose a job as get a job. It's just a job. It's not who you are. A job is not who you are. You are an artist, and you are you're trying the best of it while doing a particular job. But the job is always getting a part of what you're able to do. So maybe you don't feel here, but you're gonna be feel here or here. Or let's try a new thing. Let's try a new thing. And I started to do this in this new magazine for 2 years, maybe, doing comic books. And it was for kids, and it was a lot of fun. And I was teaching at the same time. And when that magazine closed because it didn't work, we had no public for it, and we have no money, so the magazine closed, as every magazine in that time in Spain. It was the crisis, economic crisis all around, and we were trying to get comic books out there for kids, but it was just not possible. Everyone tried in the industry, and everyone failed to get it. So we were feeling all the time that we have to look for another thing again and again. And I was maybe 26 or 27, and at that time my gut told me, you have to go for a bigger industry. Spain is going to be like this all the time. It's going to be craving for a new work, for a new job all the time. And next to Spain, just in the north of Spain, there's a huge comic book market. It's the French market. It's huge. The tradition in comic books in France is huge. They love it. In comic books, they have so many great artists. You feel like all the families in that country have some comic books, and everyone read comic books. Grandpa read comic books, kids read comic books. It's lovely to see all families, the whole family going to get some different comic books for every taste you have. It's when we think in comic books, you tend to think to superheroes, but in France it's not like this. In France you can find a comic book for everyone, actually. And it was a huge market next to the city, and plus Barcelona is really next to France. So for me, it was like, it's just there. You just got to go there and find a job, try it. And I tried, and I failed for years and years because I didn't speak French and I didn't understand the market. It was so disappointing to get fired every time, to get so many rejections. I can't say how many times I was rejected, but so many times. It's countless. And I tried different projects, different approach, different script writers, write myself. I tried everything, and I was failing all the time. I was working teaching. I had different, little jobs here and there. I was not struggling economically. I wasn't broke, merely broke, but I was young. I had no kids, no problem. My problem was not getting the job I wanted. And I tried and tried and tried until it worked. And eventually some guy find me. I don't know how or why. Maybe the planet say, okay, let this guy find his job. Let him. He's trying for so many years. So I eventually tried. A guy discovered my job. He sent me an email. That kind of email you always dream to get. Like, oh, Jordi, your mail is amazing. Your work is amazing, and you're like, I've been here for years, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for discovering me. And thank that guy, I found my first job. And in a few months, I felt like this is my thing. This is really my thing. I learned French finally. I butcher French as I butcher English. I'm fluent to it. And comic books in France, it's been my main home for years. It's where I landed. It's where I grew up professionally. It's where I discovered the kind of artist I am and what I want to do. And it has range enough to put yourself out there and to do what you feel you have to do, artistically speaking. It's
define yourself as an artist today, and
today.
Yes.
Today, I'm not the one to do that. No, it's not. I have no definition in my head who I am. I always try to connect with myself and what I want to be, something is I have inside. Sometimes it's something I really feel there's a lack of it out there, and I want to fill that space. But it's not a definition in my head. It's like a gut. It's like, I want to try this thing. And I remember being 20 maybe and telling people I wanted to do comic books. And at that time, comic books were superheroes all around all the time. Superheroes, masks, capes, pajamas all the time. And I love it. I love it as a reader, but I can't do that as an artist. It's not my thing. I don't like people getting, I don't like guns. I don't like it. I don't enjoy myself drawing that stuff. I can do it as a joke, but at some point it's obvious that it's a joke. It's not really where I put my thing. And everyone was like, Jordi, if you want to be an artist, a comic book artist, eventually you have to find a way to draw superheroes, because it's the only thing you can do it. And I said, no, I come from Barcelona. It's been difficult for years. I'm not drawing superheroes because it's not what I do. And I'm not talking about, obviously you can adapt to your market. Obviously you can adapt to what is asked you when you have a job. But it's not the same when you are looking for a job or looking for a career or just trying to fit in a particular job for a time. It's not the same, attitude. When I was looking for myself as an artist, I didn't picture myself doing comic book superheroes for my whole life. It wasn't that way. And so now I'm the guy who finally never draw a superhero in my life. Never. It's always, my stories are always about people, real people, actual people. Back and see families, people who fell in love, people who are lost, old people, young people. It's mothers, parents, kids. It's my books, my whole career until now in comic books speaking, it's been about people, and I love that kind of story. And I know it's been difficult, right? I feel now people starting with graphic novels in US and in France, it's changing a little bit as well. People start to feel interested for this kind of story, but for years there was no market for it. There were just a few guys doing it, and we feel that it was like indie movies next to the big scream explosion stuff. But we were doing our stuff and we loved it, and right now we are getting some attention, and it's really lovely. And my last book is a love story. 15 years ago, I didn't believe it was possible to do a whole book like I've done about love story with that focus, that support from a public publisher. It was difficult, but right now it's possible, and the publisher is full of it. And when I said to my publishers, to my editors, I have in my mind a love story. They loved it. Jordi, you are the guy to do it. Let's go for it. And it's a story of almost 200 pages about love story. It's that there's no guns, no violence, no big mouth, nothing. It's just people living their life, and I love it. And it's who I am as an artist, comic book artist, comic book author. I draw about people.
And I think you've created how do we not know if there's a market here if we've never had that fare or that content to be exploring? So you're really blazing a trail into a new forum, a new area for comic books, and finding audiences that are excited about this fair that doesn't have guns or superheroes. I just in going through your artwork, it's so I don't want to use the word enchanting, but you really have a magic way of capturing these moments of life, and just by just as looking at a great illustration, looking at a great photograph, taking that moment and
Exactly.
elevating it, I think is what is so powerful. Let's take a look. We've got a few examples of some of your work. Let's, Matt, amazing Matt, if you could, let's toggle through some of these and have you talk a little bit about your work, and both the background and inspiration.
We have to explain the audience what it is, because that's not a comic book.
No, this is done for the Dr. Dolittle film that came out. Was it last year, I believe, or this?
Yeah, it was last year. Yeah, it was last year, and an art director contacted me, and they were doing a animated short that was in the movie. The movie was animals and Robert Downey Jr. and I can't say it was animation or not because it was mixed. But the short before that, it was animation, and they were doing it, and an artist contacted me, and they said, "Jordi, we love your stuff. Can you join the team?" And it was an amazing opportunity. At that time, I was writing my graphic novel, and I was kind of an impasse of it. So it came at the perfect moment. So yes, let's go for it. Because sometimes work in a team, in a very particular field, helps you if you have a personal project and you're struggling to go around with it, and you do your work, but you just in a very specific field of it, and it helps you to open your mind. And so we were doing the Dr. Dolittle short animation before the movie. It's the prologue of the movie, actually. And we were not in a rush, but we had a lot of time. It was like, we have to do it, because timing, it's movies, it's what it is. So these were designs of Robert. We were looking for the good design. These drawings, as I said, they are not my favorite. They are just looking around, and we were talking with the art director, and we both knew it didn't fit. It didn't work, but we had to keep working. And I show this because I don't like them, actually. It's the first time I listened that, it was to Tomer Harakanuka at CTN years ago. And he said, "I'm showing this because I don't like him." And I didn't understand Tomer at that time. Tomer Hanuka is an amazing illustrator. And now I understand. I understand that it's important to show the audience what you don't like, because it's part of the job, doing things you don't particularly like, and because it's a part of the process. If you only show the final art, and as amazing as it is, you are gonna get some claps, but you are not speaking all the truth. Right. And all the truth is sometimes you're completely lost and you don't know what I'm looking for.
I think there's exploration happening in there as well, where you're exploring.
Yeah. We were. The art director have a clear image in his mind what he wanted, but the client had another idea, and the artist we fit in the team came from a completely different field, and there were some weeks of work that we were trying all the time to fit each other, and it was an amazing. I have an incredible experience because, as it sounds a cliche, but it's the truth. The people are very important. The work at the end, it's image. It's art on the screen, and it's important, of course, but the main important thing is the team itself, the people you work with, and at least for me, and we did a great team. It was a crazy weeks. It was crazy weeks, but we got a lot of fun, and as you can see, there were exploration. We tried textures. We tried that was mainly backgrounds. They called me for mainly backgrounds and concept art. And we wanted the art director had an idea of the colors, of the palette of colors, but then we changed it and we tried textures and we tried kind of watercolor look. We tried different things, different approaches, and then we switched to 3D, completely 3D. And it was not improvising. Let's say that it wasn't improvising because the guys who directed the short knew his stuff. They were amazing. It's Glassworks in Barcelona, but there's always a time when you are trying new things, and you have to fill the gap between what you have in mind and you have in the screen. It's not always at the first try. Sometimes it takes time and takes different tries, different approaches until you feel that really is what you want.
Yeah.
And
well, that ability to explore, I think, is so invaluable to filmmakers as storytellers on limited budgets and time, where you instantly as an artist can convey various ideas, looks, lighting, explorations on a much more time effective and cost effective manner.
I think there's an attitude that, okay, let's try and discover a new Jordi or a new myself on the screen. You don't particularly need to find yourself and it's going to be me. It has to be me. It has to be obvious it's me doing that thing. Yeah. No, it's just the opposite. Let's say let's try this new thing. What it works, and I like this attitude. As I said, that was really realistic, and it wasn't at all what we're looking for. But I had to go through this, and then was just the opposite. Really caricature, maybe too extreme. I don't like these drawers at all. It's not my favorite at all. But there are mine. It's like it's your worst photo of yourself, your worst selfie. You have to save it. You have to save your worst selfie. That's more me. Let's say this kind of emotional moment with an elephant, this kind of touchy feeling, this melty kind of cute moment. That's more Jordi's, let's say. And I try, because if you are only working out of your comfort zone, sometimes you lose confidence, and that's not good. So you have to go back what you are doing, what you do, and again try to go out your comfort zone. It's all the time. It's never flat. It's never safe. Art, it's never safe. You have to try.
Yeah.
You have to try. And if you try too much, you get exhausted. But if you just get blocked at your comfort zone, at some point you feel like trapped, because it's trapped. It's a golden cage. It's your own cage, your own style, but you are not trying new things.
How do you push past those blocks?
I've been blocked so many times. I have different techniques to go these blocks. There are some artists that say they never block. It's amazing. I block all the time. If I stop drawing for, let's say, a couple of weeks, the first day of drawing after a couple of weeks of vacancy, I don't remember how to draw. It's like how I was I an artist? I don't remember. I block all the time, and I particularly block if I stop drawing or if I repeat too much myself. If I'm doing a book where I know for sure every detail I have to do, and the people who ask me that book, it's waiting for me, like it's waiting for the kind of style they already want to have. You know, there's no space to improve or to try new things. I that at some point, I'm not gonna say I'm get bored, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and that's my first door to get blocked. Actually, when I don't feel alive doing new things, I get blocked, and I've been there a few times in my life. Sometimes it's huge, and it takes weeks. Sometimes it's just a few hours. And I have different approaches to get out these blocks. It's very personal. I think every artist has to find his or her way to get out that insecurity, because actually an art block, it's for me, it's an insecurity to keep doing what you love to do. At some point you start to think, I'm not able to do that anymore. You're blocked because that energy you have in your gut that keeps you drawing, keeps you creating, at some point it stops, and you don't know why, but it stops, and it feels so insecure because uh, it's what, as I said at the beginning, it's what you are supposed to be. I've been drawing for so many years. It's my thing. I've been drawing since I was a kid, and now I don't know how to draw. Who am I? That's the block art, and you have to go outside this box thinking. You have to go try new things. Try to get on the floor. Sometimes I get on the floor and I draw as I was a kid, on the floor, lying on the floor in a very cheap paper. That's a thing I've done to get out to art block, because I wanted to feel what I feel when I was a kid. Like I'm going back to the roots, and I go back to that connection, really emotional.
Does
It works for me. It works.
stepping outside of your norm a little bit and shaking it up, going for a walk, playing,
Going for a war, it's
stepping away,
sometimes
get a fresh.
sometimes it's funny because when I was writing my last graphic novel, I got blocked, but it wasn't the same kind of blocking. At some point, you don't know what to do, and you have to go beyond that. But it's just, let's say, lack of ideas. It's not feel like you have nothing to say. It's different when, and I'm drawing. It's a physical. It's physical. It's an action. It's really an action. You are in a table and you have to move your body to draw. And sometimes I feel like the saying says the most important step is the first one. And for me, I got out of these blocks when I just start drawing anything, even if it's crap, really, really crap. I don't mind. I like to see some crap on the paper because it's my crap. It's like, okay, I'm doing that, and I save these awful drawings. I obviously I do awful drawings. All artists do awful drawings. I don't know any artist who only do amazing stuff. Maybe there's that artist, but I don't know. I don't know who he is.
Amazing stuff. Matt, let's swap out of this, and I want to jump into. Let's shift gears a little bit to your new book, your new graphic novel. When you had been collaborating for many years and really built up your reputation as an artist and skills, and now you've branched out on your own storytelling.
Yes.
Big step for you. Talk a little bit about how.
It was a big step for me. And I come back to what I was telling. I try to get the French market. I tried everything. And my goal was obviously, for me, it wasn't obviously, do my own stories, write my own stories and draw my own stories. But I was 28 years old young man who speak no French at all, and I was there with this little project of my own, with my own stories, to a big publisher, and they were all like, nah, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. And I didn't understand why it don't, but it was obvious it didn't work, but I didn't understand why it don't. And then I started to work with scriptwriters, French scriptwriters, and that allowed me to understand the industry from inside. And I think American industry, animation industry, it's the same. I feel American comic books, it's the same. I think graphic novels, American graphic novels, is the same. And even manga in Asia, it's the same. Every industry has its core rules. It's not a rules that you can find in internet, but at the end are rules, because if you fail to that all the rules at the same time, you can fail to one rule or two. Let's say you don't feel completely, but it's okay. But if you fail at all rules at the same time, it's a big no. It's a big no. And you understand why. You don't understand why because you don't know the rules, so you don't understand why you don't fail. And start working with a scriptwriter. It was for me a big window to start to understand what was going on, what a French European comic book needed from the core of it. And let's say it was my learning process, reading, talking to everyone, listening to everyone. It's like, let's say, as a metaphor, learning a new language, literally new language. And at some point, I feel like I knew that rules we're talking about. And if someone maybe right now, it's Jordi, please say that rules. Jordi, please make a list of that rules. That's not possible. I can say out loud that rules. It's kind of a feeling. It's kind of things. If I have a book in front of me, I can do some, talking, and obviously, but I feel like a character designer in American industry can do the same. It's kind of a feeling, or story artist can do the same. It's kind of a feeling, that feeling. And I got that feeling in French market for years. And when I got that feeling, my man started to say, Jordi, let's try that. Write stories, your own stories. Jordi, let's do that. And I was like, not yet, stop it. But my mind is always trying to get to another adventure all the time. And I was starting to talk to my editors of well, maybe I can work on my own stories. And I were like, why not? Because it's people. It's just people. It's all this the another fear we all have when you are young artists. Oh, the editor. Oh, the producer. Oh, the director of the movie. It's just, we feel like the job, the title of it, but you don't feel the person of it. And it's just people. You can talk to them and ask them anything you want. maybe you find a person who is not sympathetic at all, but normally you want to find someone who is really sympathetical, and this person, is a he or is a she or whatever, it's gonna talk to you nicely and say to you whatever it has to be done to say. And uh, that's one of the rules.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of asking and
Yeah.
explain what you have in mind, but wait for the response as it is. It's a big no, but don't be afraid. Just talk what you have in mind and your ideas, and share your ideas with the bosses of it.
Yes, and finding the right people who are going to share that view, that
Exactly.
that and supportive of that. That's a rare thing to find, but I think it's also, once found, you've had to almost prove yourself. I think once you've worked with them, shown them what you do as an artist and what you bring to the table, they're seeing
That,
your track record. They know your talent. They've come to know you.
exactly. Exactly.
And
Exactly. Exactly.
cultivated that. That's, I think, important for artists to understand, that certainly you need to get in the door, but there's also a continual need to sharpen your skills and demonstrate your talents and convey your vision in effective ways, so that when you're ready, as you said, with understanding the written process, the story process, those around you that can help you realize that vision believe even more in you and can support you. So when you started writing, um, was that a little foreign to you? Was it a little unusual to be? How did you approach it? Were you writing visually, coming up with moments, and
Yeah,
applying dialogue? How?
that's a funny question, because I tried to invented my own way of do things. Because again, we have uh, prof- professionals have this conversation all the time. Some peers tell me they write all the script like a movie, all words or words, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, for me it's awkward, because I'm an artist and I have the ideas already in my mind. So all words, it's awkward. And some peers tell me, no, 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 no. You have to write while you're drawing, because you are an artist and you have the image in your mind. So you write while you draw, and you draw like in a storyboard. But for me, it's like, no, that's like jumping one of the steps. Like I didn't feel comfortable neither to them. So I accept myself, like, okay, it's gonna be you and you, Jordi. So let's try, let's try. And I go for a script, all words, but having a very, very clear idea what it was in every panel every time. And it was like a kid who said, no, no, don't touch the cookie yet. So I prohibited to myself draw at all. I wasn't drawing
Really?
because I don't like to draw a thing meant too much times.
Yeah.
I feel like
It,
the first time or maybe
um,
the second time, it's the good one. Don't repeat yourself. So doing a whole storyboard of a huge book as it is, I was afraid that that would kill my energy to do it again, but improperly drawn. So I go for a script in words, and that was a technical problem. I'm from Spain. I speak Catalan, I speak Spanish, I speak French, but I don't write French properly. No, I'm not that good. I'm not that good. So I wrote the script in Spanish, and I passed through the scripts to the editors. We had a beautiful, like, incredible translator who did an incredible job. And we worked from the script and back and forth in translations, and the concept of the script, I can talk with my editor directly, but there are always some kind of words. So the construction of the sentence, the words itself, that you have to
yes.
really work with them, with that works. So thanks God, I'm good enough in French to read my own script on French, and we work that way. But it didn't work if I had not words at all. The words was, technically speaking, very important to be there before drawing. And when and that's important lesson, the projects are never as you feel they're going to be at the beginning. They're alive. Projects are alive, and they're always a journey. It's a good journey. They never go as were expected. It's always an adventure. It's always a different way. And we have a little thing
Staying
like
open to that.
excuse me.
Stay open to that. That's
Exactly. You have to stay open to that. And a little COVID happened, a little pandemic, global pandemic, that kind of, and it broke completely our schedule, like exploding. The kids at home. My wife wasn't healthy enough at that time. It was problems everywhere. So the timing was clicking, click, 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 clicking, and I had to start drawing before the script was completely done, and it was a huge problem because I had in mind what I wanted to do, but we didn't have the proper script finished as we would expect it to have. But it happened this way, and at some point I was writing in the mornings and drawing in the afternoons and doing the whole band for myself, the singing, the guitars, the battery, the drums, the everything. I was doing everything. And thanks God we have an incredible team. We had an incredible team, and I had some help with the colors. I had some obviously help with the translation of the script, and then my editor, he's amazing, and the book is done, and it's a miracle, but it's done.
Let's dive in. Let's take a look. Now, this is it is called Malgreto.
Yes.
My terrible French interpretation of that, but that would loosely translate into nevertheless.
Nevertheless. Yeah,
nevertheless. And here it is. This is the new cover, and featuring only one name on there. How lovely! And
yes.
a challenge because as a writer, one word can completely shift the tone or language or color or
completely.
And you're really in the graphic novel context. Every word has to be carefully selected. It's essential. Too much is too much. Not enough is not enough. It has to support the imagery.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
This cover, give us your the log line. What is this book about? What does this represent to you?
Okay, let's first of all, it's important to say, as it's obvious, or I hope it's obvious, it's a love story.
Yeah.
And it's a love story about two people who are not married, and they are not going to be married from a very long time. They're in love from the young age, but they are not married at all, actually, because she is married to another one. And that's not a spoiler, because it that as a reader on the very first page. So it's you know this couple at the beginning when they are old. Let's say not old, but you have certain age.
I love what you've done with this cover, and I just looking at this and absorbing this again, this moment. The clarity is in the reflection.
Yes.
The reality, or what would be perceived as a reality, is this swirling sort of magical watercolor world of, and right away you've just visually set such a tone, and the umbrellas together create maybe a little bit of a heart shape.
Yes.
There's a lot to pull from this, and again, that's the richness of what you find in a moment, Jordi, and I think that's extraordinary in your artistry.
Thank you. There's two things more not obvious in that cover that I particularly like, the first thing I would say, it's a reflection, because the story, it's actually backwards.
Yeah.
We start at the end of this couple. We meet this couple when they are 70 years old, and we go backwards, and the book ends when they are really young. So the whole book is a reflection. It's just upside down, and I wanted to do a cover upside down. And again, my editors were like, "A cover upside down? Are you sure, Jordi?" Yeah, let's do that. And when I draw that, it worked. And but it was kind of, an experiment. And I was saying, as I was saying before, you have to try new things and fill the gap of it. Fill the gap of something you feel there is no, a really risky love story about a couple. She's married, so it's not, they have no sexual interaction, so it's not, it's kind of complicated. No, it's not obvious. It's not an obvious love story. And the reflection in the cover, it's a word to say to the reader that's going to be not obvious. That's going to be kind of interpretation of the reality. It's not always what you want to find. And like the second detail of it, I particularly like, it's she's doing that with the hand, and there's no rain in the cover, but it's water around. So you feel it's been raining, and they have with the umbrellas, but there's no rain, because it's just the very first moment when the rain stopped. And she's trying to reach, when you doing that thing is it raining or not? And for me, it's a metaphor when the storms end. It's at some point, this COVID is gonna end. The storm ends. At some point, the messes end. The awful things, it's gonna stop eventually, and you have to wait for that moment, and you have to keep your hope alive. And it's not a dramatic story. It's not a drama. It's actually more a comedy one. But I wanted to show some hope in the cover. And the title, nevertheless, it says already that it's not going to be easy, nevertheless. but showing some hope, the light of it, the light after the raining, the light, the moment of looking at the sky after the raining, and this kind of it's gonna be okay feeling. I love this to put all this in an image that if you describe, I love to work with paradox. If you think of a cover with it's water, it's a reflection, it's upside down, it's a storm, you think of a cover really dark and really wet and kind of ugh. And actually the cover looks just the opposite. It's a paradox with light and water, and I think the reader, as humans, we feel the paradox. We open our minds when you find a good paradox, a good metaphor, and I like to work with that double significant all the time.
I love it. I think that's what gives it such great depth and layers that you can dive into over and over again. Let's dive in. Let's take a peek inside here and get a sense of some of the imagery, and we'll just kind of quickly go through. And again, what I love is this idea of moments. You're really capturing the mood, the tone, the sort of magic of their reflection. They are in the rain, as you said, begins with them quite a reflection back on their lives together.
Exactly. Let me say, can you go backwards in the images and the first? Yeah, thank you. Let me say I'm the only thing I'm jealous about movies is to have actors and actress. I would love to have people, professionals, in front of me and tell them what I have in mind about the story, and tell them what the character feels, what the script is about, and let them be alive with it. I'm so jealous because when I'm drawing, I have to do everything, and so it's kind of a pity for me, like, because I already know what I want, and I don't like that feeling. I like the feeling of discover something when I'm drawing. And this time I was this writer, so it's even worse, the feeling of already knowing what I want. And I draw this sequence many times. Now, just tiny drawings, tiny trials, and in my heart, it's like tell the actors, let's try anything. Let's play. Let's do it again. And at some point, the drawing feels something. It's like feeling, and it's what are you saying? I thank you, because it's there's a moment when you capture that moment. It's like, yeah, that's really that. And there's a moment, if you can go a few pages from here, that's the first one. Stop here. That's perfect. When they are eating cookies, at that moment when I was drawing that, I was feeling that was too much. But that too much, I like that too much, because it wasn't me eating cookies. It was this couple of, old guys, whatever. It's kind of attitude like, nah, I don't care anymore. I've been polite all my life, and right now I don't mind. Let's get cookies like a kid. And this kind of feeling, it was funny and it was real. And I'd had not this in my mind before. It get the paper when I was doing this, and discovering the characters while I drawing them. It's the best of it. It's the discovering let's say I let the characters arrive to the paper. I'm just the channel of it, and they get to the paper, and it's amazing. I'm the first reader. Thanks for coming with me. Thank you so much. I'm not the boss of them. I'm not the boss of the characters. I try to let them be alive in the paper and find what I want, what I like. But
do you start with some inspiration in mind? Do you start with an actor or a family member or someone you see on the streets, and then
it really depends. In this story, when I was writing them, I talk about them as a real people, because I feel they're real people. I know it's characters, I'm not nuts, but I feel them like really real people. And while I was writing them, it took me a couple of years to have the whole story in my mind. And their faces just appeared to me as they appear, the characters or the personality, or the information just got to my mind eventually at some point. I can't say the particular moment, the particular inspiration I got this or that. It was 2 years in and out while doing other things. And the other series I was working, it is about a family, and the main characters are based on my family, because I wanted to know exactly how they grow old, how they grow up, how they, interact each other. And I wanted to feel them as real from the beginning. So I took my family members, my father, my mother, my sister, my wife, my daughter, and I put them into characters drawn differently, obviously, but the base, the core of it, it's there. And there are so many different approaches to do that. Some characters, they get to you and you have to discover, as I was saying. Some characters, you have to go for them It's not. I'm not a guy who is fixed in a position or a mental situation, and I'm gonna do it this way. I work like this, and it's gonna be like this, or never, or nothing. No, I'm not. I'm not the word. I try to go with the flow. It sounds a cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
And
Lead you where you need to be. Yeah.
yeah, and
Let's keep going through on a bit more into some of these areas and take a look at how this has evolved. Did you, when you started this, did you have a sense of a through line of where this story was going to take you,
yeah,
or?
absolutely. That I had. There's different manuals that say it's important to know how a story is gonna end, and I agree with that. I kind of agree with that. It's not essential at the beginning, but at some point you have to have an idea of the end. If you don't, you just trying, trying, and faking it. But for me, building a story, and this particular story was really as a building. I was building the script. I had this very specific idea of the last image of it. I really knew what I wanted for the end, and everything was actually to take the reader and show how everything started, because as I said, it's a story who goes backwards. So at the end of the book, it's the beginning of the story, and I had this beginning of the story in my mind, and it's full of jokes. It's a comedy. The story takes 40 years of their life, but this particular moment, it was important for me, and everything was built to protect this moment. Yeah.
Really extraordinary. And I love your use of color changes, such a mood, such a tone, and takes you into an entirely different time period. It really firmly plants you in a new phase of this relationship. Um, were you an inspiration of this? You mentioned that you do get inspiration from family, from the world around you.
Mm-hmm.
Kinds of things are, do you work to weave into the characters, to expand on the characters, since we're covering them from a lifetime?
Uh, that this as I said, these two guys, the main characters of the love story, I don't know where they came from. I have to be honest. I would love to say otherwise, but the truth is, I really don't know where they came from. I took some pictures of the actors I liked, but at the end, as I was saying, the paper was keeping telling me, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. At some point, they became real when I allowed them to be themselves. It sounds bizarre. I know it sounds bizarre, but it's what it was. I was drawing them, and at some point they became solid. They became real. They became alive and themselves. And I don't know why he has bird all the time. I didn't want it to him have bird. I didn't want it because for me, to draw bird, it impeached me to use the mouth properly to do some expressions. And I didn't want the bird, but the bird worked so well with him. So it's like the actor saying to me, no, I want the bird. I really want the bird. So let's okay. But and it's the first time I use a main character with bird, and it's been with bird all the whole book, and I loved it. It's again discovering these tiny things. It's future. It's like, yeah, it's a tiny detail, the bird, but it really explains how creativity works. Sometimes it's a thing you don't expect. You really don't expect.
And what about the worlds, the locations? Are those inspired from real locations in your
That
work?
that 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 the she's the female character is the mayor of this or her city. It's a political figure, and she has to hide, you know, this love story to everyone to keep his job properly. And I didn't want to fail in a real city talking about the mayor of the city, and that could be complicated for me as a storyteller to some people. So I wanted to avoid this kind of mess from the very beginning. So I had to invent a new city. When you have to invent something, it's good news and bad news at the same time. It's good news because you have whatever you want, but bad news is you have to do what you have to literally do whatever you want. So I even imagine the zone of it. It's a new European city. It's obvious Europe for me. In my mind, it's obvious Europe. The architecture of it is European. It's kind of South Europe. Let's kind of South France, Italy, maybe Spain, but not South Spain. It's like this, not Mediterranean, let's say, but it's not a particular city. It's a mix of it. There's different kind of buildings. I love architecture, so I studied the architecture of different cities to find tiny details. Sometimes, many times, the tiny details build the thing up. You have nothing, and you add some details here and there with taste. The taste is important. If you go too much, it becomes really too much, and if otherwise it's to find tiny details who explain the history of the city was just really fun. And there's let's say there's a character in the story who is a bridge, a big bridge. She builds a big bridge above this river in the city, and I have to bend the bridge. So I built up a big bridge. I was deep into the architecture, so I knew different approaches, what kind of bridge I wanted. At the end, I take as inspiration a big bridge. There's in Portugal, a beautiful bridge by Eiffel, the guy who did the Tour Eiffel. So he did other things, and among these things, he did this beautiful bridge in Porto, and it's a big bridge. It's exactly what I wanted for my story. So I built everything. The most part of the environment, it's built on 3D. I use a lot of 3D because I put my time in characters, and I put my love into environments, but I had no time to draw every environment as I want to. So
to achieve a balance too. That really isn't your.
It's the balance is important, and it's important to have in this book. It's important to have in mind it's a story about people. So the people have to get the focus of it all the time, almost all the time. I only allowed myself to get out the Zoom and show the city of the bridge or the environment when that speak about the mood of the characters, or even a metaphor of what they're feeling at that point. But it's all the time the characters, all the time. I wanted to focus with the characters because it's my thing, and with this book, and because the story is about them. It's about the characters, and it was important for us. When I say us, I say the editor. We have so many phone calls all the time. I phone call all the time my editor, She's exhausted with me. I'm exhausting as an artist. No, I'm not actually. She loved me, but we and the guy travels a lot. He travels. The main female character, she's the mayor of the city, and she stays in her city her whole life. And the guy travels a lot, goes all around the world all the time.
Wow.
So it was this balance again between local and global, and to don't get lost in that so much information. The focus of them was important. It kept me, to keep the characters in the focus of the story. So again, I had no time to draw everything I wanted in every detail I wanted. So the 3D helped me a lot.
Well,
Helped me a lot.
mastery to, not quite shortcut, but a mastery to be able to get it concisely down. The other thing I love about this is sort of the visual contrast. That's what makes for great compelling stories, is those contrasts and conflicts, and you've really visually conveyed that using your forum here with the sense of space in his world versus the space of her world, in color, tone, all of that. This is so cinematic, and I hope you understand how I say that and why I say that. But as an artist in this medium, you're really working down to distill it down to such essential, the essence of the moment, of the impact. Were there any areas where you went off in a direction and went, no, I can bring this, dial this even deeper. I can go where it was maybe too broad and you needed to bring it down to a more deeper moment?
Of course, there are. I have different. Yeah. Of course. I had different goals for this book,
Mm-hmm.
and a goal. I'm not gonna tell what it was, but I had this sequence in my mind all the time, and I wanted to feel in the story like really, really. It was a goal for me, and at some point I started to feel it's not gonna feel in the story. Maybe you have to get rid of it, and I hated the idea of get rid of it, and I keep the idea until the end. And at the end, when I say the end, I'm literally saying the last days of it.
Yeah.
The last days of the production of the book. It was obvious we had no time to find a good way to feel that idea, this sequence. So this is a whole sequence in the book that is not in the book because I had no clue how to feel it. And it was, now I'm starting to realize it was too much deep into my feelings. It was too much Jordi in that book. And at some point, the book is about them. It's not about me. And that's that.
Oh, go ahead, but I just want to interject. I love these sequences, the music. You've got such a wonderful way of sweeping your reader into the moment, into the emotion of the moment, and bringing it alive visually. It's very powerful.
Thank you. That speaks for me which medium you have. Right. It's a comic book. A comic book doesn't sound. A comic book that doesn't have actors, as I said. It doesn't smell. It even doesn't move. It's the reader who does everything.
Yeah.
And you can take that as a frustration, as a limitation of your thing, of your art, but you can take it as an advantage because if it's the reader who does everything, you can draw anything actually. So I go, why not? I can draw the music. So I wanted to draw the music because the characters are dancing, they are in love, but they are in love by phone and listening the same music at the same time. It's kind of really romantic and weird at the same time. And that weirdness, it was like, I'm gonna draw a music because the reader gonna feel what are they feeling. They feel the lack of it. They are dancing alone. It's like drawing the music. It's the same. It's like stupid and magic at the same time. So I go deep into this book to draw things that you can't see actually. So I draw music, I draw smells, I draw movement, I draw different things, and it's visually rich in that kind of.
Very.
I'm not feeling frustration. I'm feeling, taking advantage of the media I have. The lacks of this media allows me to do real different new things, and I loved it. So
Yeah.
stop here. That's perfect what I am saying. That at this moment I wanted to do that, this thing with my hands,
Uh-huh.
and I thought, how do I do that? Because I can move my hands around, and I'm not going to take different panels to do different. It's like so boring, useless. But I can, just draw a circle, and the reader is gonna take it as it is. It's drawing literally movement with no complex at all. That yes, I'm drawing a movement with no. There's just it's kind of cold. It's a bizarre decision, but I love it because it is what it is. It's just a panel of a comic book, and it's the reader who goes to okay, he's doing like this. It's a stupid idea, a stupid little tiny thing, but these tiny things build the mood of the book, the mood of the movie. Sometimes it's the tiny things we were saying about before, when it's too much and when it's not enough, and sometimes it's and maybe I learned that doing caricatures when I was a teenager, that sometimes you go too far and the client is not happy at all with that nose you just draw, and you have to feel when it's too much. But when you stop just before it's too much, just at the limit of it, it's kind of magic.
Oh, absolutely. And he's so visually strong. Let's continue to go through. And I loved your point about when you're exploring something a little too much and you need to pull back, or
Yes.
where you find a moment that you need to expand on, that you really want to push. I think that's an important part, particularly in this medium, to get a grasp of, to have a solid handle on. And I would presume your editor steps in and helps with making those decisions too, or are you fairly free to?
No, well, collaboration is kind of organic. She trusts me, and normally is it me who goes too far sometimes, and it's myself who said, no, that's too much. So it's me all the time having a big conversation, and she helps me by saying, let's calm down here, take a deep breath. She produced me. Let's say she's a good producer of the artist being himself all the time. And when I feel I need to build up something, for this particular book, it's built on with different moments of their lives and by sequence. And every sequence, it takes 8 pages, let's say, average 8 pages. And for that 8 pages, as you can see, it's always 6 panels of every page. That is because it's backwards, and I wanted to give to the reader the kind of click, 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 like a tick-tock, like a clock going backwards. The rhythm was crucial for it. So the good part of it was difficult because everything had to fill in this grid. But the good part, it was I could count how many beats the story had, because I have really literally divided the pages in the story, so I can fill the holes of the lack of something. So I counted bits. I counted ideas. I had these ideas. I needed 3 different ideas for a story. Okay, Jordi, you need 3 ideas. You need 3 visual ideas, 3 text ideas. As we were saying, it's text and visually, and you have to feed the animals with both. So I could count literally when it was lack of something, and it's very, very mental way of working, very, but as the story is so emotional, love story, and I'm so emotional all the time, this kind of mental process helped me to feel when it was enough, the balance again between mental and emotional. So it was while the script, while writing, when I felt the grit of the pages, of the character, the chapters, and when I saw if it lack of something, and then the tone was while drawing. But drawing, it's more organic process. I don't know what it's gonna be until it's done, and I can repeat a drawing if it's too much, but sometimes it not almost never happen. Can I stop for a glass of water? Can I?
Absolutely.
I come.
Well, go ahead and get some water.
Okay.
And to that end, we'll go through a couple more pages here. And Matt, I see we've got some questions coming in on the chat board. So once Jordi's back, but it really is such a delight to see, getting Jordi's take on this volume, and how the birth of it, the evolution of it, but then the process in the telling of the story is just remarkable. I'm sure you'll agree it's quite cinematic and quite something I would look to see in other mediums, which is exciting. So, Jordi, we're going to open it up. We've got some questions coming in from our viewers. So let's open it up to some questions.
Yeah, let me just go all the way back to the beginning here. Okay, our first question is from Jordan, who's asking, what is your process when creating a comic or graphic novel, from the idea to the publishing?
Well, the first important thing is to have an idea, and that sounds kind of an obvious thing, but it's not that obvious, because actually I have a lot of ideas all the time, but the 99% of them are not good enough. It's just not good enough. We have this image of the idea of the thing, and it's not how it works, at least for me. I have an idea, and maybe it's nice, so I just put here, and I take a look at this idea with some perspective for days or weeks or months, until it's solid enough to be okay. It's a good idea, because it's not gone. Sometimes I have an idea, it's a good idea, but the idea, it's just gone. I know there's so artists who write down everything. I never do that. I do just the opposite. And my wife is always telling me, why do you do that? And because for me, the idea of not be able to get rid of the idea, it's the good process of for me, it's a proof it's a good idea for me. It's connected to my roots. It's connected to who I am, because it's there all the time. So when I have this idea of something, maybe it's a tiny idea for a little detail, or maybe it's a huge idea for a story, I don't mind. It's just all the time these ideas floating in my mind. And when I have this idea, the second part is to have some people around you who is going to help you to put this idea into this world, because an idea is just floating here and you need to have a solid thing at the end, in the screen, as a book, as a project. So you're gonna need some people. Maybe you can do it by yourself, but I've never done that because I suck at papers, I suck at numbers. I'm not good at that. I'm just completely creative guy, and there are parts of a project where we are completely professional enterprise thing, and it's not my thing. So I need people around me who helps me in this stuff. And when I have the idea and I have the people, you just have to go to build it. And maybe it's a tiny idea, or maybe it's a huge idea, but everything goes for me getting at the chair and starting. And when I start, I realize maybe at the beginning what I need. I need 2 months, or maybe I need, oh no, it's gonna take years because it's huge and I have to feel it. And the other day I was telling to a friend who is starting right now her career as an editor, and it's funny she's a friend, but she's starting her career as an editor, so I have the confidence to talk to her. I'm not trying to be political, I just say my stuff, but she's starting and she wanted my advice about what it is a good editor and a good story. And I said, writing a book, it's like building. I say building all the time because, as I said, I love architecture. Sorry, is an idea I have in mind all the time. It's a little house in the forest. You have different sticks, and at the beginning you don't know how it's gonna be, but you love this stick and you try to combine them, and at some point you have this, and that fits. Okay, it's gonna work, but you have only 2 sticks at this point. You need more stuff. So the beginning is 2 main sticks, so maybe 3 or 4 great ideas, the base of it, but you need more. And then you add different little things, little. At the end, you put the leaves on the top. And when you have the leaves and you have everything, you have a little house built by yourself. You start with the sticks and you end up with these tiny things. For me, a book, it's the same. You start with an idea, you start with the people, and you need to explain a story. It's not, today for me, it's so important to need to tell stories to the people. Do have video games, we have movies all around, comic books all around, so many platforms with so many stories. Why are you talking a new story to this world? Why are you? It's because you love the story. You love it's not about the money. It's not about the art. It's about telling stories to the people. If you need to telling stories, if you really need that, your body feels like talking to the people, to the audience. That's basic. So you have the idea of the story, you have the people who's going to help you, and you have that need to tell that story, and that you put your thing to work. And I start to go back to how I work, me particularly. I take these different ideas and I let them float around my head all the time. When I wash dishes, when I'm with my kids, when I browsing television, I don't like, because I have this idea in my mind all the time. The shower is the big brainstorming, literally, room of the house for me. It's like I'm taking a shower. It's like, oh, I know what I want for my book. And it can take weeks or months, literally, and I'm not afraid of it because, again, for me, a good idea is the idea who sticks in your head. And when I have different ideas, at some point you feel like you have to need to go to the paper, already. Okay, you have a good idea here, but it's not real until it's not physical. So you write down the idea. And when you write down the idea, you realize you have nothing. Oh no, I thought I had, before that, you think you have too much and maybe I have to cut something. But when you write down the idea, you realize it's not, you don't have too much. It's actually the opposite. You have nothing, but nothing at all. Like, it's not the same. The content of it, of the structure of it. The structure is so different of the content. So you have full ideas of the content. You know what you want to explain, the tone of it, you feel the characters, maybe you have an image for the end. It's so very great. But then you need to build up the thing. And to build up the thing, you need to structure. Normally you need to structure. Maybe it's a kind of a really easy structure, or maybe it's so complicated and in this stuff, but anyway, it's a structure. And to build that structure, you have to fill with ideas its point is to build up the story. And when you write down the first draft of it, you realize you have no piece of it. You have no pieces at all. And that's when the work itself, it starts. Like, okay, I have no pieces to the structure. Jordi, so what's going to be? Okay, let's say it's going to be the start of it, and that's going to be the end, and around here, let's put something. And there is when I go to my fridge, to my essence box. I say to my wife all the time, it's what I feel about life. It's what I feel about characters. It's that teacher of my daughters I completely hate, and I never tell them I hate her, because you can go to people and say I hate you, but I hate her. So when I hate her, I take this character and put into my story, and I hate that character and say I hate her, and it helps me to build a character I don't like, and I put in my story different things I feel about life all the time. Again, my stories are not about superheroes or guns, are about people. So even if they were superheroes or guns, they would be about people, obviously. But in my case, it's obviously people. So I go back to my essence, to my life, what I feel about life. And I start to build up a story. And it can take months.
Yeah, and I think that your work with finding real life inspirations resonates. You see it helps your characters come to life even more when you know that you're drawing from something from reality, really. I see we've got some other great questions here. Matt, thank you. Let's continue with getting folks' questions answered.
Yeah, our next question from the chat is asking Jordi, would you consider creating your stories in another medium outside of graphic novels, like an animated film?
Absolutely, of course. Yeah, of course. I've been telling all the time, I love new adventures, and going to animated movies, it's kind of an idea I have all the time in my mind. And why not? Obviously, why not? It's not a project I have right now in my table, but it's obviously I think it's a thing I would love to do. And we've tried different times. I have different opportunities to Windows to get my stories into the screen, but it hasn't happened yet. And we're trying, keep trying all the time, keep trying. Yeah, but yes, of course.
Great. And there's a few more there. Let's keep going, Matt.
Yeah, this next one's from Tim, who about your graphic novel that you were just showing us, that the two main characters definitely look like an older couple, but yet they seem to have a lot of youthful energy and charm to them. What are your tips or secrets for drawing an older character, not having them look too old with no life in
them? Okay, how I put this in words. I put my focus not on the body. I put my focus on the character, on the feeling they are feeling. If they feel joy, I draw the joy. I don't feel the lines of the face or the lines of the face. It's gonna appear on the paper afterwards. But my actual job is to connect with the feeling of the characters, their feeling. And I love to put in the paper joyful characters. I don't mind if they're old or young or kids or even evil characters. I love evil characters and draw joyfully. Hitchcock said, "I love to film murder beautifully," and it sounds weird, but it's a perfect sentence for what creation is. And I love to draw sad people joyfully. let's say take aside what is obvious and try to a new approach of it. And I put always the focus on the joy lately. I've been drawing dramas in my life for many years. And at some point I was so sad of drawing dramas because everyone stopped, was telling me, Jordi, you're good with feelings, you're good drawing feelings. There are lack of dramas in the industry. Let's go draw some dramas. But I don't want to dramas anymore. I'm not a dramatic guy. I'm a happy guy. I want to feel happy. So I draw happiness, and I love to draw happiness, and I put my focus on their happiness. Even if all people, we have this idea of all people tired and sad and melancholy and kind of, waiting for his time. But if you take this idea and just get rid of it, and I imagine a person who is quite old already, but full of life. This image in your head, it's okay. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. And actually, if you take an old character and you make them play as you were kids, literally works. Just only doing that. Take an old character and make them move as a kid, doing soccer or with a ball or licking ice cream. Anyway, a lone character in a playground, it's gonna work because it's a paradox. It's a metaphor, and it's a thing you don't expect to see in real life, and it works. It works. It works. Chuck Jones, the great Chuck Jones of animation, the master of it, one of the masters of it, draw always two expressions on the face all the time. They was like, kind of happy, but no, and it works. And maybe it was like, I'm angry, but I'm smiling, frustrating, And you can draw two things at the same time, because people, we are always struggling what we feel and we want to feel, and trying to feel into this situation we are in, but we don't like the situation, so we're all the time struggling with our deep feelings and our situation. And when you draw that, when you connect with these two levels of emotion at the same time, it works. Chaplin, it was for him, it was like the shoulders like this, and it was always conflict in his body. If you saw Chaplin, it was a very stick with his body, but then the open feet. It was always, if you study Chaplin, he was amazing. He was obviously he was amazing, but it's literally a manual how to work a character struggling with the situation, because he was always open and close up, always stick and moving, always, all the time. He was doing two things at the same time. And it works because human, we do that all the time. We are always doing two things at the same time, feeling and thinking, wanting to get out. Right now, I'm happy to be with you, but I'm thirsty all the time. So I keep speaking, trying to get, okay, when you stop to speak, you drink water. Thank you.
Well, it's that complexity, I think.
Exactly.
Complex human beings, and it's that duality. And if it's dialed down to just one emotion, we're much more than that as humans. And I think
exactly,
understanding that and applying that to your craft is key to really grasping the essence of making relatable characters and the conflicts, the contrasts. It's a key part of filmic storytelling, visual storytelling, and finding ways to weave that into what you're doing. These are all really wonderful points, and we've got some terrific questions here. So Matt, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, next question is from Christina, who's wondering about your work process. They're asking, what is your original temp of creating? Penciling a page, inking, coloring? What is the turnaround for a chapter or a page?
I have different approaches for different kind of works. What I think that I love to do, and it sounds weird, but I love to listen to music when I'm in a plane. When I'm in a plane, when my feet are literally not in the ground, for me, it's like a big metaphor of creation. And I put my music and it's like dreaming alive, dreaming my ideas, that let them ideas cross my eyes. And I love that. I really love that. I'm always super creative when I'm in a plane. And actually, when I'm doing some trip with relatives or people I love, or even peers, for me it's kind of frustrating because that it was a time for myself. Actually, that I like to share this trip with you, but yeah. So one time I had a poster to do. It was a challenge, technically challenge, and a beautiful work to do. And at that time, I had to plan a lot for a book I had, and I was all the time working in my poster, in the plane, listening to the music, and always the same music, and always letting the ideas for the poster came up to my mind, and I loved it. And for writing, as I said before, when I have an idea, I just let the ideas flow, connect them. I don't read much fiction. I read more like, I don't know, philosophy or something.
What is your turnaround for, typically how long do you take on a page or a chapter?
It really depends. I can say that because sometimes I have this idea in my head from really time ago, really time ago. And as I say, I let them flourish. So I don't recall the exact moment they appear, because when they appear, it's just a tiny thing. And it's okay, go there. It's like an idea. Hello, I have an idea. Okay, can I go inside? Yeah, of course. You go there. Just the room for the ideas is here. So okay, and the idea just behaves themselves and get there. And some ideas get tired of being in my head and go for another head. And some ideas stick in my head because they like being in my head. So these ideas, being there, they finally change different times and mature. and flourish and grow up. And when I use them, when I say, okay, it's time for you, you go to that paper, maybe they've been for days or weeks, and I really can say how time it
Yeah.
takes for me to get the thing done.
When
And
when you are
I'm sorry, when there's a situation when I have to have an idea, that Jordi, think something, that actually it happens. And normally I go deep into the first need of the idea. What do I really need? I need to build something. I go for a word. I go for a very core concept, and I need a building. I need protection. I need a fight. I need a love. I need feeling. And so I go there. And sometimes even that core idea helps me to find a way to explain that core idea.
do you start roughing ideas out on pencil? Do you go straight to ink? Are you just to expand on?
For me, it's those guys. This guy, it's cool erase red.
Yeah.
That I love this guy. I love this guy. It's been with me all for years and years. And wait a moment, the other guy is this guy. These are my two guys. With them, I'm happy with them. I work really well with them. It's like when I with them, I don't think. I just draw. And when I draw without thinking, it's the best part of it. And when I need to think what I'm drawing, I don't use them because they go like, oh, they go too far for me. It's got like playing. And then when I went think, let's say the adult Jordi use whatever they have, this guy or this guy, or I don't know, maybe this guy. It has to feel awkward to me. Like, I don't like you. I don't like the pencil. I don't like the paper. And that's a good process because I'm thinking, you stop driving now. Could you please behave and think? Okay. It sounds weird, but it's really what I work. It's how I work. Sometimes it's thinking, and sometimes it's just go to the flow. And it depends on it. If I'm drawing, I always use these pencils, these two guys, either way, and I can take hours and hours drawing, and normally the ideas flow by themselves. And if I need to put on the paper some really something I have in mind, but it doesn't work in my head, so I need to put in paper to see if it works or not. I use whatever I have. But I don't care. I have a cover. I did that years ago. I was thinking about that cover for weeks, and I was completely blocked. And I didn't have anything about it, but literally anything about it. It was awful, and everyone was expecting a cover, and I knew everyone was expecting a cover, and I was like, okay, I need a cover. And I was teaching at that time at the school, and I take the bus, and it was raining. I hate when it rains and taking the bus. Barcelona, it's awful, it's chaos. So I got to the school really in bad humor, like I needed a coffee and I needed to get dry. And I took one of these guys, really thick and awful to draw. And I was so frustrated for the idea of the cover and the book itself. It was difficult to finish. And I take a paper and I draw, and that was it. And I realized that was it at the first glance. It was like, that's it. I can't believe it. Did you see that? And it was this guy, like this, really, really awful to draw. It's not comfortable to draw with this, but it was an idea. I needed to put an idea on the paper. It's anything you have in mind, anything you have in the hand, you have. to put your ideas on the paper. For drawing, it's like your stuff.
Yeah, no, that's it's amazing how that is really the tool you're using is such an extension of who you are.
Absolutely. I'm using a lot of iPad right now because the touch of the iPad on Procreate, it's really amazing. And I'm using a lot of it for drawing, but not for putting ideas on the paper. For putting ideas on the paper, it's again something I don't like to draw. So because I love the iPad, I never put my ideas on the iPad. I love it.
Do you use any particular software?
Yeah. I have my iPad there.
Yeah.
And my Procreate. It's
okay.
I think it works amazing for my kind of lines, and the size of it it fits really amazing what I do. It's really I have no. Okay. Yeah, my iPad. It's good enough for me.
Tool, yeah, absolutely. Matt, I think we've got one or two more questions. I want to make sure we get those gathered, and I know we're running a wee bit long, but want to ensure we get these questions answered.
Yeah, this might be a good question to end on from Tim, who's asking, do you have books published in English? And if you can, and if you do, where can we get them?
Not yet. Not yet. That's so frustrating. Not yet. I have my English are published in digitally. You can find my books digitally if you browse around my website or Twitter or Instagram. I put my links into it, and some of my books are published in English digitally, but not in paper. I have no publisher in English yet. I'm so looking for it, but finding a publisher who works well with your books is not that easy. It's not obvious. As I said at the beginning, every market has its own rules, and I feel until now my work doesn't feel exactly in the American market for comic books. I feel like right now, lately, it's beginning to get some interest, and I hope it really works from now on. I really feel that this Malgreto, nevertheless, is going to be the first one in English, and I hope so. And if anyone here has an editor friend or something, I'm all ears. Again, I'm all ears to new adventures, to new ideas, to new things. But from now on, from until now, it's not. I have no books on paper. I'm really sorry.
One day soon. Yet let's make that a cliffhanger, because I think it's just a matter of time. You've got such.
I hope so.
Wonderfully great, rich, universal stories, and in your own unique, wonderful way. And so I think it's just a matter of time. So the more we can do to help support that, the better. Jordi, thank you so much for spending some time with us today, allowing us to come into your home all the way.
Absolutely, whatever you want.
And for sharing your incredible moments that you've captured. I think you've changed my perspective on how I see what I do on a daily basis and the importance of those moments and what we can create. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Jordi, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Take care.